"Don't move, Sergeant." Corporal Ethan Hayes speaks barely above a whisper, but the warning reaches Gunnery Sergeant Isaiah Brooks with the force of a shouted command. Isaiah freezes beneath the hard white sun, one boot planted in the dust, and the other suspended less than an inch above the ground. Around him, the Kestrel Valley lies silent. No birds, no insects, only a dry wind moving across the empty hills and carrying the faint smell of stone, hot metal, and earth that has not seen rain in months. 30 feet ahead, standing where no living thing should be standing, is a white German shepherd. The dog does not bark. He does not run. His coat is streaked with dust, his ribs rising and falling beneath a torn tactical harness. But his amber eyes remain fixed on Isaiah. Calm, watchful, almost commanding. The Marines behind Isaiah hold their formation along the narrow edge of the valley road. No one speaks. No one needs to. A faded warning sign leans from the ground 10 yards to their right, its red paint peeled away by years of wind. Isaiah cannot read the words anymore, but he recognizes the symbol beneath them. A circle, a jagged burst, a danger that waits without making a sound. Ethan slowly lowers his gaze toward Isaiah's raised boot. Half buried in the powdery soil is a narrow line no thicker than fishing wire. It stretches from beneath a flat stone toward a rusted object hidden under the sand. Isaiah feels the pulse in his neck. One careless step. That is all the valley has been waiting for. "Easy," says Petty Officer Olivia Bennett from somewhere behind him. Her voice is steady, though Isaiah can hear the effort beneath it. "Bring your foot back exactly where it came from." Isaiah does not move yet. His eyes remain on the dog. The shepherd lifts his right front paw, holds it there, then places it carefully on a patch of darker ground 2 feet to his left. He looks back at Isaiah. The gesture is so deliberate that, for one strange second, Isaiah forgets the heat and the wire and the weight of every Marine watching him. The dog takes another step, stops, looks back again. Isaiah understands before he is willing to admit it. The animal is not wandering through the minefield. He is showing them where to stand. He's marking a path, Olivia whispers. Ethan swallows. Or he's scared. The white shepherd turns his head toward Ethan. His ears rise. Then he sits beside his own footprints as if waiting for the youngest Marine to finish doubting him. Isaiah has seen trained dogs work before. He has watched them search vehicles, find hidden supplies, and warn men about dangers no machine could sense. But that was years ago, before a bad decision taught him how expensive trust could become. Since then, he has trusted maps, instruments, and written orders. Things that do not breathe. Things that do not look at him with eyes full of memory. The wind moves again, sweeping a thin veil of dust across the valley floor. For a moment, the dog's tracks begin to fade. "Sergeant," Olivia says, more urgently now. "We need to move." Isaiah slowly draws his suspended boot backward. The sole returns to the shallow print it left seconds earlier. Nothing shifts beneath him. No click. No movement. Only the white dog standing again and turning toward the open field. Isaiah lowers his eyes to the ground between them. 7 paw prints form a crooked line through the dust. Each one rests on firm, untouched soil. The dog walks forward, placing his feet with the patience of someone who has traveled this way before. After 7 steps, he stops. He looks over his shoulder. His harness hangs loose along one side, frayed near the buckle. A metal identification plate swings beneath his chest, catching the sunlight for half a second. Isaiah cannot read the name from this distance, but he sees one thing clearly. A small strip of red cloth has been tied beside the tag. The color strikes him with a familiarity he cannot place. Not yet. The dog waits. Behind Isaiah, the team's radio releases a broken burst of static, followed by 3 faint words from the missing convoy's emergency channel. "Still alive here." Then silence returns. Isaiah looks toward the hills beyond the minefield. Somewhere on the other side, people are waiting for help that may never come. He looks back at the white shepherd. The dog takes one more careful step into the valley, then turns his face toward the Marines. He is not asking them to save him. He has come back to lead them in. 12 hours earlier, before the sun turned the valley white and merciless, Isaiah Brooks stands inside a canvas operations tent studying a map that is already becoming useless. Rain from the night before has loosened half the northern ridge, burying roads, shifting markers, and cutting the last supply route into Kestrel Valley. A relief convoy carrying medicine, water, and 7 civilians has missed 2 scheduled radio checks. The final transmission is brief. Static. A child crying somewhere in the background. Then Staff Sergeant Daniel Mercer saying, "Road is gone. We are holding near the old mission." No coordinates follow. No second message comes. Isaiah presses 2 fingers against the map. The old mission sits less than 4 miles east, but the direct route crosses a field marked with faded red lines and warnings older than some of the Marines in his unit. Captain Nolan Reed stands across the folding table, sleeves rolled to his forearms, eyes fixed on the same impossible distance. "Search the western road first," he says. "If it is blocked, you return." Nobody enters the field. Isaiah nods because the order is clear. He has always respected clear orders. They leave no room for instinct, guilt, or memory. Outside, dawn rises over the desert in pale bands of gold. Corporal Ethan Hayes checks the rescue packs twice, trying to hide the nervous energy in his hands. Petty Officer Olivia Bennett secures the medical cases and tests the emergency radio. Isaiah moves among them with quiet precision, inspecting straps, water, batteries, and every piece of gear that might matter later. The team sees discipline. They do not see the small silver whistle tucked beneath his shirt, or the way his fingers pause when it touches his chest. It once belonged to a dog named Major. 2 years earlier, during a training mission in a rocky basin outside Yuma, Major had stopped at the edge of a dry wash and refused to continue. The detection equipment showed nothing unusual. The map showed a clear route. Isaiah trusted both. He ordered the team forward. Minutes later, unstable. Ground collapsed beneath an equipment trailer, injuring no one seriously, but trapping one of Isaiah's closest friends for hours under twisted metal and sand. Major had sensed the weakness before any instrument did. Isaiah still remembers the dog standing above the wash, ears lowered, watching the rescue with a silence that felt heavier than blame. Major was retired soon after. Isaiah never visited him. He told himself it was because duty had moved him elsewhere. The truth was harder. The dog had been right, and Isaiah had not listened. Since that morning, he has refused every offer to work beside a canine unit. Machines fail, but they do not forgive. Dogs do. That is worse. By mid-morning, the western road ends beneath a wall of rock nearly 20 feet high. Ethan climbs onto a boulder, scans the ridge, and shakes his head. "No way through, Sergeant." Olivia turns the radio slowly, searching every channel. For several seconds, there is only static. Then a weak voice breaks through. "Water low. Air is getting bad." The signal vanishes before she can answer. Isaiah looks toward the eastern valley. The old mission lies beyond a stretch of land no one is supposed to cross. Reed's order returns to him with perfect clarity. If the road is blocked, return. Ethan waits for the command. Olivia says nothing, but her eyes remain on Isaiah. He studies the distant hills where heat already begins to bend the air. Somewhere beyond them, people are counting hours by mouthfuls of water. "We move to the boundary," Isaiah says. "We do not enter. We look for another route." They travel on foot for nearly 3 miles, following a dry creek bed lined with thorn brush and sun-bleached stone. The valley grows quieter with every step. Near the boundary, Isaiah notices something bright against the dust. A single white hair caught on a branch. Then another. 50 yards farther, they find paw prints heading west from the dangerous ground. The tracks are uneven. One drags slightly, as if the animal is tired or hurt. Ethan kneels beside them. "Coyote." Olivia studies the shape. "Dog. Large breed." Isaiah says nothing. The prints lead away from the missing convoy, toward the Marines, as though something crossed the valley with a destination in mind. A gust of wind rolls down from the ridge and begins erasing them. Isaiah looks east. For 1 second, he hears the faint jingle of metal somewhere beyond the haze. Then a white shape appears between 2 leaning warning posts. The shepherd steps into view slowly, dust clinging to his coat, a torn harness hanging from his chest. He looks directly at Isaiah, and the whistle beneath Isaiah's shirt suddenly feels cold against his skin. The white shepherd stops 10 yards beyond the warning posts and studies the Marines as if he has been expecting them. Dust has turned the lower half of his coat the color of ash, but sunlight still catches along his shoulders, making him appear almost luminous against the brown valley. One ear stands straight. The other tilts slightly beneath a pale gray mark near the tip. His front paws are scraped, and every breath lifts his narrow chest with visible effort. Still, there is nothing helpless in the way he holds himself. He looks tired, not lost. Isaiah raises one hand, keeping Ethan and Olivia behind him. Stay where you are. The dog watches his mouth, then his boots. His amber eyes move with the quiet discipline of an animal trained to notice everything. Isaiah takes one careful step toward the boundary, stopping before the first faded marker. The shepherd does not retreat. A metal plate hangs beneath his torn harness, tapping softly against a buckle whenever the wind moves. Isaiah crouches and squints through the heat. The engraved letters are hidden beneath dried mud. Can you read it? Ethan asks. Olivia lifts a compact pair of field glasses. She adjusts the focus, waits for the plate to turn, and speaks slowly. The name is Halo. The dog's ears rise at the sound. Olivia looks again. Assigned handler, Staff Sergeant Daniel Mercer. For a moment, no one says anything. Daniel Mercer is not merely part of the missing convoy. He is the Marine who made the last transmission from the old mission. Isaiah looks beyond Halo toward the empty valley, then back at the dog's torn harness. He came from them, Ethan says. His voice carries wonder now instead of doubt. Halo lowers his head and sniffs the air. He takes one step closer, but stops before crossing the boundary. The choice feels deliberate. He will not leave the ground he knows is safe. Isaiah removes his canteen, pours water into the shallow cap, and sets it near the last clear patch of road. Halo glances toward the eastern hills before approaching. His paws land only where the earth is hard and dark. He drinks twice. No more. Then he lifts his head, water shining along his muzzle, and turns back toward the field. He needs more than that, Ethan says. He reaches for the canteen, but Halo has already moved away. 7 careful steps. Stop. Sit. Look back. Olivia watches the sequence, her expression tightening with recognition. That is not random behavior. Isaiah already knows. Halo rises and repeats it. 7 steps. Stop. Sit. Look back. Each paw lands inside a narrow line of untouched ground winding between broken stones and dry weeds. He is trained to guide, Olivia says. Maybe not through this exact terrain, but he is using a pattern. He wants us to follow his placements. Ethan stares at the dog. How did he cross alone? The same way he intends to take us back, Isaiah answers. The words leave his mouth before caution can stop them. Halo faces him again. The small red strip tied beside the identification plate moves in the wind. Isaiah studies it. The cloth is faded and frayed, no wider than 2 fingers, but the color awakens something buried beneath years of discipline. Major once wore a red training ribbon on his collar during field exercises. Isaiah remembers the flash of it above the dry wash, the dog refusing to move, the warning he chose not to hear. His hand rises unconsciously toward the silver whistle beneath his shirt. Halo sees the movement. His gaze locks on Isaiah's chest. Then he takes a slow step forward and lifts his nose into the air. He knows the whistle is there. Or perhaps he recognizes something else carried on Isaiah's uniform, some faint trace that survived soap, wind, and time. The dog gives a low sound, not quite a whine, then turns toward the minefield again. The emergency radio crackles against Olivia's vest. Static fills the silence. A weak male voice breaks through for less than 2 seconds. Mercer calling. Please. The signal disappears. Olivia tries to answer, but only the wind responds. Halo stands at the edge of his own fading tracks. He looks toward the hills where Daniel waits, then back at Isaiah. No barking. No panic. Just a request made with the stillness of faith. Isaiah closes the canteen and rises. He did not come here for water, he says. Halo takes 7 more steps into the valley, sits beneath the hard sun, and waits for the man who once stopped listening to decide whether he will listen now. Isaiah keeps his eyes on Halo and reaches for the radio clipped to his vest. Captain Reed, this is Gunnery Sergeant Brooks. We have located Staff Sergeant Mercer's military working dog at the eastern boundary. The dog appears to have crossed from the convoy's last known position. Static answers first. Then Reed's voice arrives, thin and uneven through the valley interference. Do not enter that field. Mark your location and return to the western route. Isaiah looks at the wall of fallen rock behind them. then toward the hills beyond Halo. The western route is closed. We received another transmission. Survivors are still alive. A pause follows. The wind brushes dust over Isaiah's boots. Your order remains unchanged, Reed says. That ground has not been cleared. Halo rises. 7 steps. Stop. Sit. Look back. His tracks are already softening beneath the wind. Isaiah lowers the radio. Olivia stands close enough to read the decision on his face. If we follow him, she says quietly, we place each boot exactly where he places each paw. Single line. No shortcuts. Ethan looks across the field. And if he makes a mistake? Isaiah watches Halo waiting under the white sun. He crossed once to reach us. That does not answer the question. No, Isaiah says. It answers a better one. He secures the radio and tightens the straps of his pack. Why would he come back if he did not know the way? Ethan looks down at the warning markers, his jaw tense. Olivia removes a roll of bright survey ribbon from her medical pack. I can mark our path. Isaiah shakes his head. The wind will pull it loose. We trust the prince. The word trust sits heavily in his mouth. Halo takes another 7 steps and waits. Isaiah approaches the first paw print. It is pressed into a patch of firm brown soil between 2 pale stones. He places his right boot inside it. The print is smaller, but its center gives him a point to follow. Nothing moves. He shifts his weight slowly, feeling every grain of sand beneath the sole. Then he brings his other foot forward into the next mark. Halo watches without blinking. Olivia behind me, Isaiah says. Ethan last. Keep 4 feet between us. Do not look at the destination. Look only at the ground. They begin, 7 steps at a time. Halo moves with his nose low and his ears forward, pausing before every change in direction. Isaiah follows. Olivia follows Isaiah. Ethan follows Olivia. Their boots create one narrow line through a place that seems to hold its breath around them. The heat presses against Isaiah's shoulders. Sweat gathers beneath his collar and travels slowly down his spine. Somewhere to the south, loose sheet metal knocks against an abandoned post. The sound is faint, regular, almost like a clock. Halo stops beside a cluster of dry weeds. Isaiah stops. Olivia stops. Ethan stops. The dog leans forward, smells the ground, then shifts 2 feet to the right. He places one paw down, then another. Isaiah copies him. A small stone rolls beneath his heel, and his entire body locks. The stone travels 6 inches before resting against a rusted can. No one speaks until Halo takes the next step. Ethan releases a breath that sounds like a prayer. They continue for nearly 100 yards. The road behind them becomes a thin brown thread. Ahead, the old mission remains hidden beyond a low ridge. Isaiah hears Major's old training whistle moving against his chest with each careful step. He remembers another dry basin. Another dog refusing to move. He remembers choosing certainty over warning. This time, when Halo pauses, Isaiah does not question him. The white shepherd turns sharply and presses his body low to the earth. His ears flatten. Isaiah raises a fist. Every marine freezes. The valley changes. At first, it is only a vibration beneath. Isaiah's boots, light enough to mistake for his own pulse. Then dust slips down the ridge ahead. Pebbles begin to jump across the ground. Halo remains flat, eyes fixed on Isaiah. Down, Isaiah says. They lower themselves carefully without moving their feet from the prints. A section of earth 20 feet ahead gives way with a deep, rolling groan. Sand and stone slide into a hidden wash, swallowing the route Halo had been approaching. A brown cloud rises and drifts over them. When it clears, the path ahead is gone. Ethan stares at the empty break in the ground. He knew. Isaiah looks at Halo. The dog stands, shakes dust from his white coat, and turns left toward a line of darker soil no map has ever marked. Then he takes 7 careful steps and looks back. Halo leads them left along the darker strip of soil, away from the collapsed wash, and toward a ridge shaped like a sleeping animal beneath the sun. The detour adds distance, but no one questions him now. Isaiah follows each pale paw print with a patience he once believed belonged only to machines. Behind him, Olivia controls her breathing. Ethan keeps his eyes fixed on the ground, counting every step under his breath. 7. Stop. 7. Stop. The rhythm carries them deeper into the valley until the warning posts disappear behind curtains of dust. The air grows still. Even the loose metal that had been knocking in the distance falls silent. Halo climbs a shallow rise and pauses at the top. Isaiah reaches him several moments later and sees the old mission for the first time. It stands less than half a mile ahead, a small stone chapel surrounded by dry grass and the remains of a low adobe wall. Its roof sags near the western corner. A wooden cross leans above the entrance, weathered silver by years of heat. The sight should bring relief. Instead, something inside Isaiah tightens. There are no people outside. No movement near the doorway. No convoy vehicles. No signal cloth. Nothing that suggests 7 civilians and a Marine have been waiting for rescue. Halo looks toward the chapel and releases a faint sound from deep in his throat. Then he moves again. The final stretch narrows between scattered stones and patches of brittle brush. He no longer pauses every 7 steps. He walks faster, though one front paw begins to favor the ground. Isaiah notices, but says nothing. The dog has carried urgency farther than any of them. When they reach the chapel wall, Halo circles toward a side entrance half buried by wind-blown sand. Isaiah signals Olivia and Ethan to remain on the marked approach while he checks the threshold. Halo places one paw on a flat stone beside the doorway. Isaiah copies him and steps inside. Cool air touches his face. It smells of dust, old wood, and something faintly metallic. Sunlight enters through cracks in the roof, falling in narrow golden columns across rows of broken benches. The chapel is empty. Isaiah searches the corners. Olivia joins him after carefully following his path. Ethan comes last and closes the distance between them. Mercer, Isaiah calls. His voice travels through the small room and returns softer. No answer. Near the altar, an emergency radio rests on a wooden crate. Its green power light blinks weakly. Olivia hurries toward it, checks the floor before each step, then lifts the handset. This is Petty Officer Bennett. Can anyone hear me? Static fills the chapel. A child's voice emerges through the speaker, thin and frightened. Please come soon. Then a man speaks somewhere behind the interference. Air is getting low. The message ends and begins again from the start. Olivia examines the controls. It is recorded. Set to repeat. Ethan looks around the empty room. Then where are they? Isaiah sees a dark stain on a folded bandage near the crate, but he does not let his mind turn it into an answer. Beside the radio lies a metal identification tag. He kneels and brushes dust from its surface. Daniel Mercer. The chain has been broken. Isaiah closes his hand around it. For a moment, the chapel seems smaller, the silence heavier. Halo enters and walks directly to him. The dog lowers his nose to the tag, breathes once, then sits. Ethan removes his cap and looks toward the leaning cross. Maybe we got here too late. Halo turns his head sharply. His ears rise. He does not lower his eyes. He does not settle beside the tag like an animal mourning someone who is gone. Instead, he stands and walks behind the altar. His nails tap against the stone floor. Once, twice, then the sound changes. Hollow. Halo presses his nose to a cracked section of wall where the plaster has fallen away. He scratches at the base, stops, and looks back at Isaiah. Isaiah approaches and places his palm against the stone. A faint current of cool air touches his fingers. From somewhere beyond the wall comes a sound so soft it could be mistaken for the building shifting in the heat. 3 slow knocks. A pause. Then 3 more. Halo begins to dig. Isaiah drops beside Halo and clears loose dust from the base of the wall with both hands. The dog digs beside him, fast but controlled, pushing aside flakes of plaster and packed earth until the outline of a narrow wooden panel appears beneath the broken stone. Olivia kneels on the other side and feels along the edge. There is a latch, she says. Ethan brings the small rescue bar from his pack, but Isaiah stops him before he forces it. Slowly. We do not know what is holding this in place. Another 3 knocks come from beyond the wall. Weaker now. Halo presses his nose against the wood and releases a low, trembling breath. Isaiah finds the latch beneath a layer of grit and lifts it. The panel gives less than an inch. Cool air slips through the opening, carrying the scent of damp stone, old soil, and people who have been waiting too long in the dark. Mercer, Isaiah calls. This is Gunnery Sergeant Brooks. We are here. For 1 second, there is silence. Then a man answers from below. Took you long enough. The voice is thin, but the humor inside it is unmistakable. Halo lets out a soft cry and pushes his shoulder against the panel. Isaiah and Ethan pull together. The hidden door opens inward with a long wooden groan, revealing a steep stairway descending beneath the chapel. Olivia turns on her medical light. Its beam reaches a small underground room no more than 20 feet across. 7 people sit along the walls, wrapped in emergency blankets and coats. A little girl holds a portable radio against her chest. Beside her, Staff Sergeant Daniel Mercer rests against a stone column, one leg extended, his face pale beneath a layer of dust. When Halo sees him, the dog forgets the careful discipline that carried him across the valley. He rushes down the steps, stops only once to keep from slipping, and crosses the room in 3 bounds. Daniel opens his arms. Halo presses his white head against the Marine's chest and stays there, breathing hard, his entire body trembling now that he no longer has to be brave alone. Daniel closes both hands around the dog's harness. "You came back," he whispers. Halo lifts his face and touches his nose beneath Daniel's chin. No one in the room speaks for several seconds. The little girl watches them with both hands over her mouth. Olivia moves quickly among the survivors, checking breathing, hydration, and awareness. Ethan distributes water in measured amounts. Isaiah crouches beside Daniel and holds out the recovered identification tag. "Found this near the radio." Daniel gives a tired smile. "I left it for Halo." Isaiah looks at the broken chain. "You sent him through that field alone?" Daniel turns his eyes toward the dog. "I tried." He explains that the convoy reached the old mission shortly before the northern ridge collapsed. The vehicles could go no farther, and the first wave of dust forced everyone into the chapel. When cracks opened across the floor, Daniel found the hidden shelter and moved the civilians below. The air vent became partly blocked during the slide. Their water began to run low. The radio could transmit only in brief bursts, and no one knew whether the signal reached beyond the valley. Halo remained near the stairs, listening to every sound above them. "I gave him the search command," Daniel says. He would not leave. The first time, Halo sat beside him. The second time, the dog lay across Daniel's boots. On the third attempt, Daniel removed his identification tag and tied it to the harness so whoever found Halo would know where he came from. Still, the dog refused to climb the stairs. Daniel looks toward the small red strip beside the tag. "So I added that." Isaiah reaches toward the cloth but stops before touching it. "What is it?" Daniel studies him carefully. "Something I kept for a friend." His voice softens. "Then I told Halo to go find the man who still listens." Isaiah feels the silver whistle beneath his shirt. The underground room fades around him for a moment. He sees Major standing above the dry wash 2 years earlier, red ribbon moving in the wind, waiting for a command that never came. Daniel notices the change in his face. "You remember." Isaiah looks at the cloth again. "Where did you get it?" "From Major's old training collar," Daniel says. "I was there the day they retired him. I thought you might come say goodbye." Isaiah lowers his eyes. He has no answer that can repair that absence. Halo leaves Daniel's side and walks to Isaiah. The dog raises his nose toward the whistle hidden beneath the uniform, then sits close enough for his shoulder to touch Isaiah's knee. Daniel watches them. "He did not find just any Marine," he says. "He found the one carrying a scent he already knew." Above the chapel, the wind begins to rise, moving through cracks in the stone with a distant, mournful hum. Olivia looks toward the stairway. "We need to leave soon. The ventilation is getting worse." Isaiah places one hand on Halo's neck. The dog's heartbeat is steady beneath the white fur. Daniel had sent him out searching for a man who still listened. Isaiah is no longer sure that man existed 12 hours ago. But as Halo turns toward the stairs, ready to lead them all back into the valley, Isaiah knows he must become him now. The first warning reaches them as a flicker of static from Olivia's radio. She lifts one hand for silence and turns the volume higher. For several seconds, the underground room fills with the dry hiss of distance. Then Captain Nolan Reed's voice breaks through, strained but clear enough to understand. "Brooks, respond. Weather station reports a fast-moving dust front from the south. Visibility will fall below 50 feet within 40 minutes. Extraction aircraft can hold at the western landing zone for 20 minutes after that. You need to move now." Isaiah looks around the shelter. 7 civilians. Daniel unable to put full weight on one leg. A little girl holding a radio against her coat as if it were the last. warm thing in the world. Halo standing at the foot of the stairs, ears raised toward the wind above. We found the convoy survivors, Isaiah answers. All alive. We are preparing to bring them out. Reed is silent for a moment. How many can walk without assistance? Olivia looks toward Isaiah and slowly shakes her head. 2 of the civilians are weak from dehydration. An older man needs support. Daniel cannot manage the field alone. Not enough, Isaiah says. Then you extract your team and the ambulatory survivors. Mark the shelter. A recovery unit will return when conditions improve. The words enter the room gently, almost reasonably. That makes them harder to hear. Ethan stops passing water. The little girl looks up at Daniel. Daniel closes his eyes, not in surrender, but because he has already understood the distance between an order and a promise. Isaiah holds the radio close. The air vent is failing. They cannot remain here through the storm. I understand, Reed says. But I will not lose your entire team in an uncleared field. Bring out whoever can travel now. Isaiah looks at Halo. Dust rests along the dog's white back, and the red strip on his harness moves faintly in the cold air leaking through the hidden doorway. The shepherd crossed the valley once because Daniel sent him away. Then he crossed it again because he refused to leave anyone behind. Isaiah thinks of Major at the dry wash. A warning ignored. A goodbye avoided. All the moments when caution had worn the face of wisdom, even when it was only fear standing very still. Captain, Isaiah says, we came here for everyone. Reed's voice hardens. That is a direct order, Gunnery Sergeant. Above them, the chapel groans as the first strong gust strikes the stone walls. Fine dust drifts from the ceiling. Halo turns toward the stairs. Isaiah can feel every person in the shelter waiting for his answer. He does not raise his voice. Understood, sir. He lowers the radio and switches it off. Ethan stares at him. Are we leaving? Isaiah clips the radio back onto his vest. Yes. He looks around the room. All of us. No one cheers. The choice is too heavy for that. Olivia immediately begins organizing the group. She gives the strongest civilians small packs and divides the remaining water. Ethan uses rescue webbing to make a support sling for the older man. Isaiah kneels beside Daniel. Can you stand if I take most of your weight? Daniel grips the stone column and rises slowly, his face tightening with effort. I can stand. That was not the question. Daniel looks at him, then nods. You will need to carry me part of the way. Isaiah turns and lowers himself. Daniel places one arm across his shoulders. Together they climb the narrow stairs, one careful step at a time. Halo follows so closely that his nose nearly touches Daniel's boot. Outside, the afternoon has changed color. The sky to the south is no longer blue. A wide brown wall rises above the valley, swallowing the far hills and turning sunlight into a dull orange glow. Wind presses against the chapel. Sand races across the ground in long silver streams. Olivia brings the little girl through the doorway and covers her face with a cloth. Ethan guides the others into a single line. Isaiah looks toward the route they used to reach the chapel. Nothing remains. Their boot prints are gone. Halo's palm marks have vanished. Even the dark strip of firm soil has disappeared beneath moving dust. We have no trail, Ethan says. Halo walks to the edge of the chapel steps and lifts his nose into the wind. He does not move forward. He turns once toward Daniel, once toward Isaiah, then scans the open valley. For several seconds, he stands completely still while the storm advances. Isaiah feels Daniel's weight against his shoulder and hears the little girl breathing behind him. The aircraft is waiting somewhere beyond 3 miles of hidden ground. The path that brought them here no longer exists. Halo lowers his nose, steps away from the old route, and places one white paw on untouched earth. Halo tests the untouched earth with one paw, waits, then shifts his weight forward. Isaiah watches the dog's shoulders, the angle of his ears, the slow work of his nose. Nothing about Halo's movement is hurried, even with the storm pressing closer. He is not searching for speed. He is searching for certainty. Single line, Isaiah says. 4 feet apart. No one steps until the person ahead is clear. Olivia places the little girl behind her and ties a short length of rescue webbing around the child's waist, keeping the other end secured to her own vest. Ethan supports the older man and checks the line behind him. Isaiah adjusts Daniel across his back, one arm under the Marine's legs, the other gripping the strap across his chest. Daniel is lighter than Isaiah expects, worn down by heat, thirst, and too many hours beneath the chapel. "You can put me down if you need to," Daniel says near his ear. "I will tell you when I need to." "You always this stubborn?" "Only when someone gives me a direct order." Daniel almost laughs, but the wind steals the sound. Halo moves 7 steps, stops, looks back. Isaiah follows, placing his boots exactly where the dog's paws disturb the dust. The others move after him, one careful body at a time. The storm reaches the far edge of the valley and begins erasing the horizon. Sand taps against their clothing. The air smells dry and electric, like stone before lightning. Isaiah can no longer see the chapel when he looks over his shoulder. Within minutes, the world shrinks to Halo's white shape, the narrow line of people behind him, and the ground directly beneath his feet. The dog turns north, away from the route they used before. Ethan notices. This is not the same path. Isaiah does not look back. The old path is gone. Halo lowers his body and moves around a shallow depression covered with loose soil. Isaiah copies him. Daniel's weight shifts as Isaiah steps sideways. His boot slides half an inch. He freezes. Dust curls around his ankle. Halo turns immediately, walks back 2 prints, and places his nose near Isaiah's boot. The dog does not touch the ground beside it. He looks up instead, calm and steady. Isaiah draws his foot back into the center of the mark. Halo waits until his balance is secure, then resumes the route. "He is watching all of us," Olivia says. Her voice comes from somewhere behind the brown haze. Halo proves her right less than 10 minutes later. He stops without warning and turns toward the rear of the line. Isaiah raises his fist. Everyone becomes still. At first, he sees nothing wrong. Ethan remains upright. The older man holds the webbing. Olivia keeps one hand on the little girl's shoulder. Then Halo walks back along the prints, passing Isaiah, Daniel, and Olivia. He stops beside the child. One of her shoes is missing. Her socked foot hovers above the edge of Olivia's boot print, trembling from the effort of not touching down. The shoe lies 3 feet behind them, half covered by blowing sand. "I am sorry," the girl whispers. "It came off." Olivia tightens her hold around the child. "You did exactly right. You stopped." Halo lowers himself between the girl and the ground, pressing his side gently against her shin so she can rest her foot on his back. Ethan reaches forward without leaving his own print and uses the rescue webbing to pull the loose shoe toward them. Olivia slips it back onto the child's foot and ties it tightly. Halo does not move until both shoes are secure. Then he returns to the front. Daniel watches from Isaiah's back. "That is why he paused at the shelter," he says. "He never leaves until he counts everyone." The words settle inside Isaiah. Not equipment. Not cargo. Everyone. The storm thickens. Visibility falls to 20 feet, then 10. Halo becomes a pale blur moving through rust-colored air. Isaiah's shoulders burn beneath Daniel's weight, and every breath tastes of dust. Still, the dog keeps the same rhythm. 7 steps. Stop. Listen. 7 more. At one point, he lifts his head and turns west. A faint mechanical thumping travels through the storm. The extraction aircraft. Far away, but waiting. Halo changes direction toward the sound. Minutes later, the ground beneath them becomes firmer. Small tufts of dry grass appear. Then Isaiah sees something dark through the dust. A boundary post. Beyond it, the earth shows tire tracks and boot marks. Cleared ground. Halo steps across the line, turns, and remains standing until Isaiah follows. One by one, the others emerge from the storm. Olivia brings the little girl over. Ethan guides the older man. The final civilian crosses and collapses onto his knees, not from injury, but from relief. Halo looks past them, toward the brown wall, counting again. Only when no one remains in the field does he lower his head and lean against Isaiah's leg. In the distance, a landing light flashes through the dust like a small star refusing to disappear. The landing light grows brighter as the group moves across the cleared ground, no longer stepping inside one another's footprints, yet still walking in the same careful line. The extraction aircraft waits less than 200 yards away, its rotors turning slowly through the dust. Marines from the recovery crew run toward them carrying blankets, water, and medical bags. Isaiah lowers Daniel onto a canvas stretcher, but Halo remains pressed against the injured Marine's side, his white coat almost brown beneath the desert sand. A corpseman reaches for the harness. Halo stiffens. Daniel places one hand behind the dog's ear. Easy, partner. They are helping. The tension leaves Halo's shoulders, though he does not move away. Olivia guides the little girl toward the aircraft. Before climbing aboard, the child turns back and kneels beside Halo. She removes a blue ribbon from her hair and ties it gently beside the faded red cloth on his harness. So he knows I made it, she says. Halo touches his nose to her hand. Then he watches until every civilian is safely inside. Captain Nolan Reed emerges through the dust near the edge of the landing zone. His face carries the stern expression Isaiah has seen before difficult conversations, but his eyes move first to the survivors, then to Daniel, and finally to the dog standing between them. Reed stops in front of Isaiah. For a long moment, neither man speaks. You turn off your radio, Reed says. Yes, sir. You disobeyed a direct order. Yes, sir. The wind pulls at their uniforms. Isaiah does not defend himself. He looks toward the aircraft, where the little girl is now seated beside Olivia, wrapped in a silver emergency blanket. Reed follows his gaze. How many did you leave behind? No one. Reed breathes out slowly. The hard line in his face softens, though only slightly. We will discuss the rest after everyone is safe. He steps aside and motions toward the aircraft. Get your people home. Daniel is transported to a military hospital before sunset. His leg requires weeks of rest, and the long hours without enough water leave him weak, but the doctors expect a full recovery. Halo refuses to leave the hallway outside Daniel's room. He lies beneath a row of plastic chairs, his head resting on Isaiah's boot, and raises his ears whenever footsteps approach. Isaiah remains there through the night. The hospital smells of antiseptic and coffee. Rain begins after midnight, tapping softly against the windows and washing the desert dust from the glass. Near dawn, Daniel wakes and asks to see them. Halo reaches the bedside first. He places both front paws on the mattress and leans close enough for Daniel to rest a hand against his neck. Isaiah stands near the door, holding the silver whistle beneath his shirt. The red cloth, he says. You said it came from Major's collar. Daniel nods. After Major retired, he went to a family outside Tucson. He lived another year. Quiet place. Big yard. He waited near the gate every afternoon. Isaiah looks down. For me? Maybe. Dogs do not explain what they forgive. Daniel removes the frayed cloth from Halo's harness and holds it out. I kept this because I thought one day you would be ready. Isaiah accepts it carefully. The fabric is faded nearly pink, but he remembers its original color beneath a hard Arizona sun. He remembers Major looking back, asking him to trust what could not be measured. Halo recognized it, Daniel says. The cloth carried Major's scent for years. Your whistle carried it too. That is why Halo chose you. Isaiah kneels beside the bed. Halo turns toward him, amber eyes steady and open. He crossed that field looking for a memory, Isaiah says. Daniel shakes his head. No. He crossed it looking for someone who might still become the man that memory deserved. Weeks later, Daniel walks with a cane across the rehabilitation courtyard. Halo stays beside him until they reach Isaiah beneath a cottonwood tree. Daniel holds the dog's leash for a final moment, then places it in Isaiah's hand. Temporary assignment, he says, until I am cleared. Both men know Daniel may never return to field duty, but neither gives the truth a name. Isaiah ties Major's red cloth and the little girl's blue ribbon around Halo's new leash. The two colors move together in the morning breeze. Halo looks once at Daniel, receives a quiet nod, then steps beside Isaiah. There is no ceremony, no crowd, only sunlight through green leaves and the soft sound of paws on concrete. Isaiah no longer asks whether trust can guarantee a safe road. It cannot. He has learned something better. Sometimes faith is simply placing one foot where loyalty has already gone and refusing to leave until every soul has crossed.